Hey there, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and today's project uses the Lawn Fawn Winter Village stamp set to create this cute card with like a die cut opening in the front. So it's actually pretty simple. And there's a stamp set on the left. I don't know what it is about Snowy Village stamp sets, but I love them at Christmas time. I have to have them, and this is especially cute because it's Lawn Fawn, so I had to have it. And I am stamping the 3 building stamp and 2 trees with Memento Tuxedo black ink onto Neenah Solar White because I'm coloring with my Spectrum Noir markers. So I'll be using both Illustrator markers, which this is an Illustrator marker, and then regular Spectrum Noirs, which will be the black markers. The only difference really is that the Illustrator has a thin brush tip, so it makes getting into these tight spaces a little bit easier. I wouldn't say a lot easier, but a little. But otherwise the colors are the same. So that's GB9, and then I'm going to add shading with EB5, and I'm just shading under the windows, under the roof, and then where the building is overlapped by the ones in front. And I don't even blend it because the colors were close enough in value that it added some subtle shading without really requiring any blending. So really easy coloring. If you're intimidated at all with alcohol ink coloring, I think this could be a good one to start with because it's really, really simple. So that was IG2, and then I shaded with IG4. And then this is BG1, and I will shade with BG2. So just along the roof and under the window and by behind the snowbank a little bit. But again, no shade, no blending required with that at all. And then I'm adding CR8 for the door. And then for the roof, I started with IG10, but that seemed really dark. It was blending right into the brown building. So then I grabbed my IG6, and I did try to blend. So I just went over the IG10 a few times to blend it out and get sort of more of a medium gray shade. And then to fill in the windows, I used CT2. And then my door on my tan building is DG4. So I have little green and red accents. And then the roof on the brown building is probably the most complicated coloring I did. So it was IG4 to start, but that seemed too light. So then I grabbed IG6, but they're pretty far apart on the spectrum. So I did tip to tip. So I'm touching the tip of the IG4 to the IG6 and then coloring with it to get sort of a shade that's in between the two to darken it down a little bit more than the gray building. And that was a little more CR8 on the chimney on the tan building, and then I'll use some BG4 for the chimney on the gray building. And for my trees, I'm using DG2 as the base coat, and then I will shade with DG3, so just under the layers and then a little bit on top. And then that I will actually blend out entirely to get a nice smoother blend. That's, again, the roof of the brown building, that's probably the most complicated coloring. And then this is GB9 again for the trunks, and that is it. Pretty simple. Now I do always use a white glaze pen to touch up any errors where things bleed. If you watch my videos all the time, you've heard me say this a million times. It's great. It works almost like an eraser. So if you don't have one, I highly encourage you to get one because it is amazing. Now I'm going to stamp. There are these little garland details stamps that come with the set for the trees. So I wanted to have a little bit of holiday festivity going on in my village scene there. So I'm going to be heat embossing these little garland images with gold embossing powder. So I'm stamping with Versamark ink, and I'm using my Misty because I thought I would probably have to stamp it a few times, which I did. And then I'm going to cover it with gold embossing powder and then heat set it with my Ranger heat tool. Now I knew I was going to be using really brightly patterned paper, so I wanted my village to be more or less neutral, not compete too much with the paper, but I had to have a little bit of festive detail. So in addition to my gold garlands, I am adding little red ornaments with my Nuvo crystal drops in red berry, just a little bit here and there. Now here's my main paper. It's from the Lawn Fawn Nitpicky 6x6 paper pad, and I've adhered it down to the front of a 5x5 white card base. And I'm using the Elizabeth Craft Science Stitch Circles die set to cut out a circle. So this is the 4th largest. I think that would be the right way to frame that. And then on this Gina K Designs in the navy, I'm using the next largest size, and I'll die cut that out as well. So I have an opening in the front of my card, as you see there, from that paper, and through the white. And then the navy's going to go on the inside, and it's slightly bigger, just to ensure that I wouldn't have any like weird gaps when I put it together. And then for a little frame, I used the dotted scallop circles from Elizabeth's Craft Science and cut that out of a red paper that was also in that nitpicky paper pad. And then I die cut out the same size circle from the front to create a frame. You can't do it at the same time because they don't quite nest together. But if you do the dotted scallops first and then center the other one, it's pretty easy. Now you can see I have cut out my images using my Scan and Cut 2, and I've used them for placement because I want to heat emboss. There's a couple smoke words in the stamp set. One is joy and one is love, and I'm using joy for this, so it's coming out of the chimney. So I used the little stamped images for placement, and then there's a shooting star that I wanted to add into the night sky too. And I'm heat embossing these in white so that they really stand out against that dark blue background. And it's just such a cute stamp set. And then I have sort of cut a snowbank basically and fit it to the circle. I used the stamp of the village to get the profile right on the top, and then I just cut it to the size of the circle, and then I adhered that whole thing down with the ATG gun. And now I'm using my Zig 2A glue pen to adhere the village down and then the 2 trees in place. And that's it for really most of the gluing. Now, of course, I have to have sparkle. There's no way I can't have sparkle. So I've got my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle marker, and I am just sparkling the heck out of the snowbank and then the snow on the roofs to get some, like, you know, sparkly Christmas detail on the inside. Then I used a gold marker to fill in the star, and then I actually will use it later to fill in the little dot over the joy. And now I'm taking my white glaze pen and I'm just dotting very lightly all around to create stars. And then I'm going over some of the ones that are higher up in the sky to make them a little bit bigger and a little bit more prominent, to get like the illusion of depth in the sky. Now that holiday greetings is also from the Winter Village stamp set, and I heat embossed that in white onto some Lawn Fawn Noble Fur cardstock, and then now I'm just adhering my little frame around the circle using my Zig 2A glue pen, and I will trim out any extra of the inside of that circle that's sticking out on the one side, as you can sort of see there. To adhere down my greeting, I'm using my ATG gun, and I wasn't quite sure how much I needed in the middle, so then it turned out I didn't really need much, so I wound up just kind of rubbing it off with my finger, and then I used a rubber cement eraser, and it came off no problem at all. And for a little bit of added detail, I took my Tonic Nouveau drops again in the red berry, and I added little stitches to the side of the holiday greetings thing. I thought it went with that like sweater stuff, and it was just so cute. And then finally, to finish it off, I punched out 3 stars from some gold mirror cardstock and red mirror cardstock, and just added them to the 2 upper corners and then right above the greeting on the lower right to complete the card. So really not that complicated, you know, just some die cutting and a tiny bit of coloring, but otherwise pretty easy overall, really. And I really was very happy with the result. I like the die cut looking through the front at the image on the inside, and then you could always add an additional greeting on the inside if you wanted to. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. I hope I've inspired you to try out a little winter village scene for the holiday season. Supplies are linked in the video description and over on my blog. If you liked the video, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. I would love that as well. Thank you so much, and hope you have a really amazing day.